Hello and welcome to another new video, and today we are going to be talking about the fact that I'm going to predict literally everything in Deltarune. We are going to go through every single chapter sequentially and then tell you everything about it. Starting of course with the next chapter that is about to release, chapter 3. Now because it is the next chapter, we have the most information about it. In my opinion, we are going to see the fish herself, Undyne. The weird root equivalent in chapter 3 is going to be corrupting Undyne, which will then ultimately lead to Undyne killing Toriel. This is probably my wildest prediction out there, especially Toriel dying. However, the chapter 3 setup is basically the same setup that we had in chapter 2. It is the fun gang going in and there being two supporting characters. And in chapter 2, the two supporting characters killed each other. And the reason why I'm making Undyne the corrupt one is because I don't think we can even make Toriel powerful enough to deal with Undyne. Undyne is just a different kind of beast. Also, this whole power shtick that we had in chapter 2, I feel like that's more Undyne's thing than Toriel's thing, but that's just me though. I also predict that in chapter 3 we are going to get more evidence that the knight is Kris, because I believe the darkness in the chapter 3 Dark Fountain are going to refer to as the person who made the Dark Fountain as the knight. And of course the person that made the Dark Fountain is Kris. However, I also believe there are going to be multiple knights. Maybe it is to the point where every single chapter is made by a different person, or it's just a couple of knights, and Kris is one of them. The main villain of the chapter, i.e. the king and queen of this chapter, is going to be Mike, because in chapter 1, Jevil was the one who teased Queen, and in chapter 2, Spamton is the one teasing Mike, so I believe Mike to be the final boss of this chapter. When it comes to the secret boss of a TV thing, I predict that it's going to be the personification of a cancelled show, and that's with chapter 3. Chapter 4. This one's a little bit more speculative. We know that the day after chapter 3 everyone is gonna go to church, so let's just say that this one is going to church. The Dark Fountain is made in the church, like a back room of the church maybe, and we are going to have the supporting cast of Rudy and Asgore, because we already know that Noelle's father is going to go to church that day. And Asgore because the two are pals, and frankly I just want an Asgore chapter. Here I believe we are going to corrupt Rudy to kill Asgore. We're going to absolutely drive home the fact that he has to protect Noelle at all costs. Noelle, the scared little deer, his own child that can't do anyone harm, he has to gain power to protect her. And that's how he gets corrupted. Also, what I predict, this Dark Fountain is explicitly not made by Kris. Also, I'm gonna change a name here. That's a fucking subversion of expectations. Dies immediately in chapter 4. Yeah, I like that idea more. And I believe that the secret boss of this one may just be the personification of an angel, because for you see, this is kinda fire. There's a lot of religious iconography in Deltarune and a lot of religious references in Deltarune, but having a kind of fallen angel that is controlled by whatever is controlling all of the secret bosses, that is interesting. I should probably have written fallen angel anyway. Now, for the sake of having a chance at predicting anything, we're gonna go ahead and assume that the chess theory is correct, meaning that Mike is some sort of representation of the rook, and the chapter 4 boss is going to be some kind of bishop. What I also predict is popularity-wise, the angel is gonna have more of a Jevil-like popularity than a Spamton-like popularity. We have no idea about this at all, so I'm just gonna make my own shit up now. Remember, there are 7 chapters in total in the video game they call Deltarune, and we still have 2 chess pieces to go, which are the knight and pawn. So what happens on chapter 7? But we're getting off track here. I predict this one is gonna happen in the flower shop, which of course will mean that Asgore is in there. However, I believe that here the cycle is gonna break. There's only going to be a single companion outside of the fun gang. That is a Lightner. The secret boss is going to be, I don't know, Asgore's dead. Yep, that makes sense. But most importantly, the main villain of this will be a knight. So let me just make my goddamn assumptions on who the knights are. So we obviously got Kris himself. Then I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Ralsei, working together with Kris because of their conversations they had in both chapter 1 and chapter 2. Well, in chapter 1 at least, if you don't do lesbian skip in chapter 2. Or you know, Snowgrave. And then I'm gonna give the third one, the one we fight here. Now I genuinely think this is kind of fire. However, you may think I should be kicked in my balls. Asriel. Motherfucker, wasn't that college? Of course, Ralsei was absolutely telling a lie at the end of chapter 2. It is not their goal to actually do the roaring. They are trying to do something else. However, because of us, the player, they are not able to do it. Because we are in control of Kris most of the time. And again, we are doing the weird route to absolutely destroy this man's life. But when I think about it, actually, it makes more sense that this is reversed and we can corrupt Toriel and then kill Undyne with Toriel. That's way better, actually. In chapter 5, we have a fight with Asriel, and they just have to fight brother versus brother because we are in control of him. Kris absolutely hates everything about this. Ralsei just has to play along because we are still there and they can't do anything about it. So when they finally defeat the Knight in chapter 5, they think, we defeated the Knight. Nothing's gonna happen now. Or at least the player is made to think that, and Susie. Because even if one of the names is crossed off the goddamn list, there are still 2 that remain. Which leads us into chapter 6. And yes, I did just imply that Asriel is going to die. I have no fear in my eyes. Chapter 6, everything is quiet. The 6th day. Almost time for the festival. Everything is going bad. Oh god, it's going to get worse now. We are having the last weird root potential here with Susie. Now, where is this chapter taking place? Now it's going to take place at Noelle's place. We are invited over. We I don't know, we celebrate having killed Asriel, or we're having a goddamn funeral. It doesn't really matter. And while everyone is there, Kris opens the dark fountain. And Kris does so blatantly in front of everyone. Now, on a weird route, half of the town is dead. And so now we can also get Susie. Susie and Noelle both goddamn strong because of the weird route. Susie doesn't actually kill anyone. However, Noelle, after doing the chapter 2 weird route, gets into a fight with her mother. If you've done the chapter 2 weird route, kept up with all the weird routes, then Noelle is going to fight her mother, and you can command Noelle to kill. I think I've gone a little overboard, but that's just a theory. Okay. And chapter 7, you don't get to make choices now. Now, absolutely no one can predict what is going to happen in chapter 7. Why? Because it's a literal fever dream that Toby Fox had. However, what I am saying is that if we do not do the weird route, Ralsei is going to reveal his plan and forcefully remove us. Because you see, they've had conversations. They've had the conversation in chapter 1, we can't do anything about it. They can have a conversation in chapter 2 if we don't do the weird route and don't do lesbian skip. Then maybe Ralsei is going to have a conversation with Kris every single chapter up to chapter 7, and if we do the weird route, we can interrupt said scene. And if we interrupt said scene, they don't have enough time to talk about their plan, meaning that if you do the weird route, Ralsei's plan is going to fall through. And with the plan falling through, then the opening the fountains is actually gonna lead to the roaring. So only if we kill half of the city and do literal genocide multiple times is the roaring going to happen. And in a normal route, I don't know, sands. That seems about right. And with this, I would like to say that I have now channel memberships. You can join for just literally 99 cents or maybe even $3 whole if you want to become an artist instead of a developer and get early access to videos like this one. This one is actually early access right now. Well, it was early access. You probably haven't joined yet, because this is the first time I'm mentioning it. Anyway, this is kind of like my last Deltarune video, by the way. I should probably mention that, because frankly, I have run out of ideas, and this is like the last thing I could possibly do. So, for one last time for Deltarune, my fit is absolutely dapper. Cue the clown!